let's go ahead and get started. It's 10:32. I know we'll have a bunch more people over the next few minutes, but they'll have to catch up. A couple of different things. Do I see? Well, I'm going to wait on that one because the person who asked is not here, I don't believe. So let's first start out with anything you guys have. What kind of questions do you guys have? Well, let me tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about commercial leasing. I've had a bunch of questions over the last 3 weeks or so from you guys. I don't know what's in the air, but everybody's got a friend who wants to lease commercial space, or they've got somebody, whether someone they found or someone they've known who wants to do commercial leasing space, and they have a lot of questions. And so I kind of want to knock them all out at once, so you guys will kind of have a roadmap of what to do in the future if you come across these things. Do you guys, any of you guys, feel like you have a good grasp of how commercial leasing works and what to do if you get someone to do a commercial lease? No. Anybody? I'm seeing a lot of head shaking. That's great. Anybody? And keep the visual clues coming, please. Anybody running into people who want to lease commercial space, or have you before, and do you think you will? Okay, so that's great. Let's discuss this. I do twice a year, well, once a year of each one. I do an investment presentation, and once a year I do a commercial real estate presentation. So I'm going to take a little bit from my commercial real estate presentation and talk to you guys about leasing. So commercial leasing. First of all, you probably won't run into your Planet Fitness, or obviously not a Publix, or somebody who wants to lease a giant amount of space, because those people all have tenant reps, full-time people, either in-house or they have brokerages that they work with, commercial brokerages that they work with all the time. So, and they have some sort of agreement with these large national, international, your NAIs or your CBREs and those kind of people. Okay. So they have tenant reps in each region. Okay. So what you're going to run into is a lot of mom and pop businesses, 5,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet, nail salons and hair salons and smoke shops and all kinds of businesses like that. So first of all, let's talk about how to find these. How would you guys normally find, if I said, hey, Mike Hurley, you're in real estate. You helped me buy my house. You're fantastic. Can you help me also set up a hair salon?
LoopNet.
What would you do, Mike?
Go to LoopNet and look for it.
Right. That is a great answer, because that's what most of you would do, and that's what frankly I would do. Go try to find them something on LoopNet, right? There's Crexi, CREXI.com, LoopNet.com, those kind of places, and you guys can get on there and just play anyway. Even if you don't have a customer, just go on there and kind of get a feel for that. But I'm gonna do some screen share with you here, and I have not prepared this. Yes, you can look on MLS, Joy. You're gonna not see nearly as much stuff. Most commercial agents do not use MLS. And let me screen share this with you guys. There we go. So give me a nod if you're seeing the screen share. There, are you seeing the screen? Okay, good. All right, so I just did Orlando, and I just did for lease. Okay, space use. Let's get it narrowed down here. Anybody know what kind of space I would use for a hair salon? Anybody can pipe up.
Maybe.
Is it office, co-working, industrial, retail, restaurant, flex, medical, or land?
Flex.
A hair salon is going to be retail. It's going to be in a shopping center or something like that. It's going to be retail. Flex is what you see for like a showroom in the front and a warehouse in the back kind of thing. That's mostly what you're going to see for that. Lease rate. You're going to need to know how much they can spend, right? They're going to tell you that's going to be one of your premier main questions to them. Let's say a minimum of 0. They just want to spend less than, they're going to tell you by the month, by the way, which is not how it's usually figured, but a max of, let's say, $5,000 a month, most they can spend. All right. And let's just go from there. All right, so I got it narrowed down to this many now. Okay. You would normally have a zip code or an area that they want to be in, but let's say they want to be in just in, let's say they want to be in the Dr. Phillips area. All right. So here's something International Drive. All right, here's a listing agent. Here's what it looks like, very nice. They've got it broken down to square foot per month. What you guys are typically gonna see is a yearly square foot. So I'm gonna do that. Let's do that. I'm gonna go back to my, sorry about that. I'm gonna go back to this and I'm gonna get rid of this requirement and just search from there. All right, so let's go back here. All right, mostly what you're going to see is a square foot per year, $50 a square foot per year. Okay, this is pretty high, obviously. This is a good example though. So we've got 1,200 square feet. The term is negotiable. So your terms are going to be this, that when they're talking about terms here, they're talking about length of time. So you're going to do a 1-year lease, 3-year lease, 5-year lease. Typically with retail, it's going to be 3 years with the tenant having the choice to renew, and usually they'll offer with 2 renewals. Okay, so 3 years with 2 renewals, or 5 years with 2 renewals, or 1 year with 2 renewals, whatever it is. Usually there's a set time, and then there's renewals. Now, these numbers, I don't want to get too complicated here. These numbers are going to have an escalator in them to keep up with inflation. Typically, it's a 3% escalator. Okay, so your first year is going to be $50 a foot. Your second year is going to be, what's that, $51.50, and your third year will be 3% more than that, and it'll keep going out throughout the length of any kind of term or any kind of renewal. Okay, typically 3% a year. That's been it's not the case for inflation right now, but it has typically been the inflation hedge over the years. Now, triple net, what does this mean? And this is the question I get all the time. There are 3 ends here. Those ends don't really mean ends. It just means net, net, net. It is net of, you guys might want to write this down. It is net of insurance, taxes, property taxes, insurance, and common area maintenance. You will also hear those numbers grouped together as CAM, which traditionally stood for common area maintenance. Now it stands for common area maintenance and the other net items, which would be insurance and property taxes. So why, does anyone have a wild guess of why they want to put a base rate? This is called the base rate, by the way. This $50 is called the base rate. Why they would want to separate the base rate from the other 3 items I mentioned? Does anybody have a wild guess? Or good guess? Any kind of guess? No.
Because
All
it
right.
varies.
Yes, exactly. It's flex. I couldn't find my unmute. Because it's flexible, it's not fixed.
Correct.
So
And why does anybody care about that? You're absolutely right. Why does anybody care about that?
Because they're going to lose money if they give you a set rate and then their taxes go up and their insurance goes up. Right?
But couldn't they just throw a percentage in there and probably do better? Can't they just say, you know what, let's make it go up 6% a year? And
that's to accommodate inflation, right? Things change every year. That's
the escalator. That's not
okay.
Yeah, well, you're not far off there. Yes. So you guys are all right, but why? So you guys are all right. These are what are called variable costs. Why are they separated from the base rate? Does anybody know? They are separated because when I am selling this building, it is easy for someone to just say, I get X amount per year, right? Because I don't get this money. These nets, I don't get them. As the business owner, I don't get them. As the building owner, I don't get them. They're what's called pass-throughs. They pass them through to the tenant, and those tenants pay them as an association, they pay them directly through their manager. Okay, so they're going to pay their taxes, insurance, and the common area maintenance for, you know, keeping the parking lot clean and the grass and painting the building and doing the roof and everything else. They're going to do that separately. This $50 a year is base rent. Now I can package this building up with a bunch of other buildings and sell them all to a hedge fund or somebody, and they don't have to worry about all this mumbo jumbo. Okay, so it is done for investment purposes, for ease of selling the building. When you're going to sell one of these buildings, all you got to do is tell people what the base rate is. They don't care what the CAM is, as long as it's reasonable. What you're typically going to see most of the time is around $4, $5, $6 per foot for CAM. $6. That's $6 per year. All right, so you see this is $50 a square foot per year times 1,200 square feet. So how you do that fancy math is, can anyone tell me what let's say, I'll do a thing for you guys and see if you can figure this out. So it's 1,200 square feet. It's $50 a year in rent. Let's say my CAM is $5. My triple net amount is $5. $5 a year, square foot a year. Can anyone tell me what my monthly payment would be before sales tax?
My space bar is not working. 5,500.
That is exactly right. 5,500. This works out well because it's 1,200 square feet and it's 12 months. So yes. So you multiply your base rent. I'm sorry. You add your base rent to your CAM. You came up with $55. You multiply that by 1,200 for the square feet, and then divide that by 12. Right. So that's how you come up with your monthly. So there's $5,500. Could Mike's friend afford this for her or his nail salon or hair salon? No, right? Because she told him 5,000, not for Mike, but for me, but for $5,000 is what he or she told him that they wanted to spend on this hair salon. So no, this isn't the place. Well, first of all, let me tell you, $50 is a lot. Even for Dr. Phillips, even for retail. So retail is going to be your most expensive, by the way, just so you know, your most expensive dollars per square foot is going to be retail. Office is cheaper than retail. Industrial is cheaper than office. So that's where you get that, of course. And you can follow this. The more square feet you have, typically, the cheaper it is per square foot. But also retail is the most expensive real estate right out on the highways and right out on the roads and with the highest traffic counts, et cetera.
I'd imagine, especially on International Drive too.
Especially on International Drive. And if you look at this one, the current tenant is Seafood Boil. So what does that tell you this is, guys? That's a restaurant, right? That has a lot of equipment in it. It's already done. It's already got the build out for restaurant. Restaurant is the most expensive of the retail typically. So that's that. So let's talk about the next thing. Let's say this did fit. Let's say this did fit Mike's client's budget. Okay, they said, you know what? We can do $5,500 a month. I know we told you, but for that location, that's a great location, Mike. Thanks for finding that for us. We can pay that. So let's talk about what value does Mike add? Does Mike just call this thing and say, hey, yeah, we'll send us the lease, we're good? No, sometimes they're going to want a letter of intent. And so what a letter of intent does, I get this question a lot too. A letter of intent is typically not binding. What that tells them, the idea behind this is so we don't keep writing leases back and forth like we do with contracts on residential, where you guys can just fill one out in 5 minutes and send it over with the terms that your client wants. And they, not in this market so much because it's seller's market, but they'll counter you and you counter back and they counter back, and it takes a few minutes and we X out stuff and we put initials. Well, these leases are typically longer and they require an attorney. We're not going to do these on FAR bar leases. They require an attorney typically, and typically the landlord already has their lease. So you can't access their lease to send them one, and they're not going to take one that you draw up. So they already have, people who own these buildings already have leases. So what they're going to want to see is a letter of intent, which puts out the prospective tenant's intention on the terms that they would like. So you don't have to pay $50 a year just because it says it's just like a listing on a residential home. You don't have to pay, if they ask $1 million, you don't have to pay $1 million, right? You can offer whatever you want. Again, in a more fair market, you can offer whatever you want. It's the same thing for this. So Mike can say, you know what? I'm glad, Mr. and Miss Client, that you can pay $5,500, but let's try to get it under your budget. Let's try to get it for $5,000. So Mike can offer them $45 base rent. You can't negotiate the CAM because that's pass-throughs, right? The landlord doesn't even set those. Those are taxes, insurance, and common area maintenance. But he can negotiate the base rate. So he can say, we want to pay $45, right? So now we're back up to $50, which according to our math is going to get us right to $5,000 a month. So he can say $45 plus we want tenant improvements. We're going to make this seafood boil into a salon. So we're going to have to spend money. We either want 6 months of free rent, or we'd like $20 a square foot in TI money, which is tenant improvement. Okay. Any questions on that? Those are things that are negotiable. There's lots of things that are negotiable here. This is why the big boys, your Planet Fitness and all these kind of things, that's why they hire people full-time to represent their brand and expansion, because they know because these agents and these brokerages, they know what the client wants, what they'll offer, what they can do, what they can't do, and the kinds of things they like to see. So you have things you'll either get typically, now you could get both, but typically you'll get, or neither, but typically you'll get either free rent or tenant improvement money. Okay. Where they help you, you know what, we'll rip out that kitchen and we'll do this and that, and they're going to help you. But typically they're not going to want to downgrade their space from a restaurant to a salon, just so you know. So that is, let's say you wanted to put a seafood boil there, but it was currently a hair salon, then you would definitely ask for tenant improvement money, because you're gonna have to put in booths and you're gonna have to do all the stuff that you have to do, a kitchen and all the stuff you have to do for a restaurant, right? So that's how that works. Any questions on this stuff? I get a lot of glazed eyes typically when I do this stuff. If you guys have any questions?
I guess the tenant improvement money you'd be asking for will be based on how long?
Yes, great question. Their willingness to say yes or no is based on, you ask for whatever you want, but their willingness to approve is going to be based on how long you're going to be there paying rent. They just want a client and they're paying rent. Might be even based on your credit. If this is a person who's never run a hair salon before and never done anything like that, then maybe, they might say, you know what, I'm not downgrading from a restaurant to a hair salon for a 1-year lease and not giving you a dime. You can go in there and spend the money if you want, but actually I don't even want you in there making my property less valuable. So if I'm the listing agent here, I'm going for another restaurant, just because it makes sense. So yeah, you can ask for whatever you want, but if you're doing a 5-year lease here with 2 5-year renewals, they're going to be much more likely to accept any kind of term. The free 6 months, you're not going to get that on a 1-year lease, right? So on a 5-year lease or something like that, you're going to get maybe you get 6 free months. The longer great question. The longer the lease, the more likely they are to help with anything, because you're a better tenant, right?
Yep.
So great question. So you see how they're marketing this stuff too. Well, let me go back to that. All right. You see how they're marketing this stuff too. Sorry, I'm having issues here. Wow. Did I lose my internet somehow? You guys are still on there. So you can see how they're marketing this too. This is what commercial agents do, right? They show you what's nearby. They show you all this stuff. They're trying to sell it to you. There is typically going to be I don't see one on here. Typically it's going to be a flyer. So let's talk about any other questions you guys have. Like, how do I get paid, Ryan? How does this work? Why would I even do this? This sounds terrible. Well, here's how it works. So for this $5,500 a year, let's say they sign a 3-year deal, which is more likely in retail of this size. Smaller retail is going to be 3 years typically. Big time retail is going to be 5 or 10 or something like that. But let's say this one is let's do 5 years. So they're going to do, what do we decide? You only get paid on base, by the way, just so you know, $50 a square foot a year. That's going to be $6,000 if they paid full boat. It's going to be $6,000. Sorry, yes, $60,000 a year is going to be their rent. Okay, you don't get paid on CAM. You only get paid on base rent. So 60,000 a year is going to be their base rent times the 5 years of the first term. You only get paid for the first term. If they renew 100 times, your grandkids are not going to be getting checks for this. You get paid the first term. If they renew, there's no commission. All right. So 6,000 a month times 12 months, right? I'm sorry, 5,000 a month times 12 months, 60,000 a year times 5 years. So $300,000 is what your commission is based on. That is really your sale here. Guys, this is like selling a $300,000 house. You're typically going to get 3%. So what you do here is you call this Ben guy and you say, Ben, what kind of information can you send me? He'll have what's called an OM, an offering memorandum he'll send you. And he'll probably ask you for a letter of intent where you put all these terms that we talked about. And you're going to say, what is your co-broke? That's what they say in commercial, co-broke. Use that term instead of what are you offering on the MLS? It's co-broke. So ask Ben, what's your co-broke on this? Meaning your tenant rep. He's the landlord rep, you're the tenant rep. What are you offering the tenant rep? And Ben's going to say 3%, 2%, 5%, whatever. You never know in commercial. So, okay, perfect. And you put that in your letter of intent. It will be in the lease. It is not like an MLS offering. You can absolutely discuss it in commercial. Commercial is governed by the law, not the MLS. The MLS will have you believe they're the law. They're not the law. They are our governing body as realtors. But if you're doing a deal that is not on the MLS, you are not governed by, you're still governed by your code of ethics, but you're not governed by MLS rules. So you do put the commission in the contract in commercial many times, unless you're using a FAR bar form. But if you're using any other kind of thing, it's going to say in there that it'll have a line item for commission. It'll be a paragraph for commission, and it'll say seller agrees, or in this case, landlord agrees to pay Ben at Equity Management Partners and Mike Hurley at Florida Realty Investments, 3% each on this thing. It'll say that in the contract. Don't freak out when you see that. Put it in your letter of intent. Once he tells you what the co-broke is, you don't just go willy-nilly doing it. You can. That's a thing too. In commercial, you can negotiate your commission before writing the contract, because you can put it in the contract. Again, not one you found on MLS where they're offering it, just one that you don't find. The ones you find on LoopNet that are not in MLS. Okay.
Question.
Yes, Ida.
Please. The letter of intent, is that if there's a template where that can be accessed, or you just write?
You can Google letters of intent. I can send you some that we've done. All it does is it says it's written as a letter. My client is interested in this property at the following terms. It'll say all of the things that you want. You do it like a paragraph, just like in a contract almost, where you say term. And in real estate and commercial real estate leasing, the word term means time. How much time? So you put 3-year lease with tenant option for two more renewals. Okay, for 2 renewals, and then you put base rent $45 a year. If you don't want to offer this 50, you put 45. So they're going to negotiate before they draw up the lease. By the time they draw up the lease, they're going to have everything that you talked about. Okay, you're going to negotiate before the lease. Like in residential, where we typically send the contract with what we want, and they mark it out and send it back, or whatever, they call you or text you or email you back with what they want changed. We're going to do the same thing, but before the contract. Okay, because it's their lease. We don't have access to their lease, so we're going to send them a letter of intent, and we're going to go back and forth. Okay, you'll see the same thing in large land development deals. If you're purchasing large pieces of land for development, you'll see the same thing. You want letters of intent, because they end up writing contracts that are 45 pages long. They don't want to go back and forth with that and paying lawyers $500 an hour to look at those. All right. So yeah, so that's your letter of intent. You go through all that, and you'll go into tenant improvement, and you'll say, we want $10 a square foot tenant. But you don't say we want, you put the terms as though you're writing them on there. You put $10 per square foot in tenant improvement. Free rent, 3 months free rent. Whatever it is. So let's talk about how you get paid. Let me finish that. So you get paid 3%. Typically, you're going to get paid half at signing of the lease and half at what they call rent commencement, when they start paying rent. So if they get them 3 months free rent, you don't get the other half for 3 months. All right. So if you do this deal and you got that 3% of the first 5 years, which was $300,000, and so that's $9,000 that you made, you're going to get $4,500 typically. Typically, that's spelled out in the commission portion of that agreement as well. Typically, you're going to get $4,500 at lease signing and $4,500 at rent commencement when they start actually paying rent. So if they sign the contract tomorrow, you'll get paid within the next week or so. You'll get $4,500, and then since Mike negotiated them 3 months of free rent, you won't get the rest until November, January, February. You won't get the rest till the end of January. Okay. Everybody got that?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Well,
so quick question on that then. When that comes to Fry, is that two different transactions or is that still the one transaction?
it's one, and we're going to take all your money out of the front.
Okay.
We're going to take all your money out of the first one just in case somebody dies or something. We don't get the second one. So, no, seriously, that's a great question, and we go through that all the time. We take all the money out of the first one, and it's just $350. Okay. Under a certain amount, which is not in your paperwork, but we cut you a break under a certain amount. All commercial deals should be $750, but we cut you a break. We're not taking $750 of a $1,500 deal, which sometimes you guys get. So, any other questions on that? I see some questions over here. Yes, Andre, you're right. Retail. You guys were answering questions. I can't see chat when I'm in screen share, guys. Sorry, I just see these. Great job, everybody. How busy is the commercial market compared to the residential? It is very busy. Office is lagging behind a little bit, but because a lot of people are working from home now, but these retail stuff is picking back up like crazy. So there's space out there, and it's just getting filled back up as the market picks back up and people are going out and feel more comfortable going out. Any other questions on that? It is difficult to find employees, though, as you guys are seeing around town. So, but somehow people are. I mean, you guys have been just over the last 3 weeks. I must have had 10 or 12 of these. So, one thing I want to tell you, you guys, I just told you a lot of what you need to know, and there's more stuff that you need to know than what I just told you. But if you guys need help on this, we have agents who are experienced in this and who have time to help you. They'll typically, they'll split it with you, they'll do whatever, but they'll guide you all the way through it. If you guys need anybody like that, we have someone.
Do you know of any of our agents that are CCIM?
Yeah, we have some. I can let you know.
Okay.
There's probably some on here. I'm not sure, but yeah, we have some CCIMs.
What CCIM stands for? CCIM?
Certified Commercial Investment Manager. They've been through a course where they've done X amount of deals, X amount of business, in a certain period. So they do have the background and experience in the commercial.
It's like a master's degree for commercial people.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that, Ryan.
I'm sorry. There's AJ's on here right now. Hi, AJ.
Hi. Excellent presentation. I was not going to interrupt you, but somebody that had asked, I am a CCIM. Actually, I was the education chair for CCIM for the state of Florida, and also the past president of CCIM Central District chapter. So if anybody needs, CCIM is the way to go in terms of if you guys want to get good at commercial real estate. But Ryan, you did an excellent job.
AJ, put your contact info in here. AJ's email is even at ccim.com or something. Put your email in here, AJ, your access.
Yeah, I have myself not public because right now I'm at my parents' house. My mom and dad are going through some tough time, and I'm helping them out. And that's the reason I'm not very active right now. But I have spoken to some of your people, some of the agents, residential agents, and I'll be happy to, guide them and help them. So I'll put my contact info here.
Yeah, a lot of you guys that have sent me stuff asking for commercial help, I have sent you to AJ, so some of you guys are familiar with him already, because he is a wealth of knowledge, and he's very, very, very helpful for you guys. So I appreciate him. Any other questions or comments on the commercial leasing? Because that's just a very, very basic overview. But I get a lot of questions about what's CAM, what's this, what's that. There's lots of confusion on all that stuff. So I want to clarify that with you guys. And if you don't feel like you're comfortable with it still, which you probably shouldn't, then we're here as a resource. I'm happy to help you with some quick answers and stuff. But AJ, if you actually need, you know, a little more help, then AJ be happy to help you as well.
Ryan, I'm actually okay to everyone. How do I send this?
Are you in the? You want me to just put your? I can put your name and email in the chat.
I got it. I just have. I put it. I thought I put it in there, but it looks like maybe I'm not doing it in the right area. So I'll just. I'll do it again.
I'll put it right now. I'll do it, bud.
Okay.
I have questions in regards of commercial, but not so much about leasing, but about commercial buying and so I have a potential customer that is looking for a building for a church. It's a pastor. And I just have questions about, you know, number one, I need help with an agent that is actively doing commercial. If AJ, I can sidebar with him, or if anybody else would be available to help out.
Elvis, you can leave a message on my cell phone for me, and I'll get back in touch with you, okay?
Okay.
When I have some time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna leave that subject for right now and go to a question we have that I received from on email today from one of our agents. This agent has a relative that's renting a home that she found for him 10 years ago. The management company is terminating the management services with a 60-day notice. So the seller is still the same. The management company doesn't matter. The seller is just the same. Does does my relative need to move? Not necessarily. It's what the owner can terminate the management company. It has nothing to do with the lease. I assume that your relative is on a month-to-month. Will management company tell him that he'll need to move because they're no longer managing property? No, that's not how that works. You can get rid of a management company in the middle of a lease. You can do whatever. Seller wants to sell his home to my relative after terminating the management agreement and wants to help him with the down payment and closing costs. Fantastic. Does the seller have obligation to pay the management company 6% commission for the sale of his house? No. I will be assisting in this transaction and not charging a commission. If there is a commission, I'll be giving it to my relative for a down payment. Fantastic. If the landlord and tenant are already discussing prices and stuff without you, then you probably don't have room for a commission. The landlord wasn't planning on paying your commission. So probably not a commission, which seems like you'd be fine with since you would just be giving it to your relative anyway. The management company, okay, so an owner hires a management company to help them. The management company is just the right hand of the owner. So the management company helps them get into a lease, helps them manage the lease, manage the property, fix anything that goes wrong, serve the notices if the tenant is not paying their rent or doing something that breaks the lease, breach of the lease. So the management company, the owner getting rid of the management company has nothing to do with the lease. They're just saying, I'm going to handle it myself now, or find someone else to help me handle it. Has nothing to do with the lease. So I hope that answers that question. It does not. I'm going to assume, since they've been there 10 years, that they're probably a month to month, even though there's a management company. I don't know. But the seller wants to sell after terminating the management agreement. So the seller and the tenant have already, or the owner and the tenant, landlord and tenant have already worked out a price or whatever, and they want to help him with a down payment and closing costs. That's wonderful. And it's nice of you to get involved and help see it through for both sides for free. If that's what you want to do, you're perfectly capable of doing that. No, he's not going to get kicked out just because they change management companies. The owner's the only one who decides whether or not to kick someone out who's on month to month. You can't kick them out. You have to give them notice. But so it depends on what you're saying is that the seller or the owner is terminating the management agreement, not terminating the lease, which they also have the right to do if it's month to month with notice. All right, I hope that helps. If not, I'm available by phone to that particular agent. Any other questions or comments? Best place to find multifamily. I tried to answer that, Jika, Crexi, LoopNet, it's in LoopNet, it's in Crexi.com. Those are good places to start. And even on MLS, but I'm sure you've looked there. But those are good places to start as well. Any other questions or comments?
Why are these, Brian, for commercial leasing not being put on the MLS, but using these sites to be? Are these sites similar to what we have on the MLS to where we can?
Not at all. Get on there and look around. So commercial realtors are part of what's called CFCRES, Central Florida Commercial Real Estate. They are typically not going to join. A lot of the ones at the big brokerages do not join the MLS.
Okay.
They're not reaching out to you guys. They're reaching out to other people, and typically because those are the bigger players, the ones they're leasing space to Planet Fitness and places like that who have their own commercial reps. So that's kind of a commercial MLS, if you will, without their same requirements. But they're typically not. Sometimes they put them on MLS, but most of the time they're not. Yes. Any other questions? But look around on those, Crexi.com and LoopNet.com, and just look around there. You'll see the difference between those and the MLS. Would you recommend? Yes, Hashi. Yes. Would you recommend LoopNet as well for commercial purchases? Yes. Yes, they've got buildings on there. They've got all kinds of stuff on there. Absolutely anything you want to find. I've done a training before where we played around on there quite a bit, but get on there and look around. You can find all kinds of stuff. Just for a quick, let's do this real quickly. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Go back here real quickly. All right, let's go back here real quickly. All right, you guys seen the screen share of LoopNet's homepage? Yeah, okay. So look, for sale, guys, you can enter a property type, you can do anything. There's all kinds of stuff here. If you just, let's say you just want to find multifamily. Enter a location. We can do wherever you guys want. Let's do Tampa. Tampa, Florida, there we go. Oops, thought I hit Tampa. There we go, let's search there. And we can get more detailed into this. It's pulling up a bunch of them, I'm sure. But you see all the multifamily opportunities. There's everything from 733,000 to, I'm sure there will be no limit on how much we can spend here if we want to. But you see all the locations of multifamily stuff. All right, so tons of stuff. Multifamily, industrial, retail. Let's see if there's any, see if we can find shopping center here. Well, there's your shopping centers. There's 5 of them. All right. So there's all kinds of stuff. You can spend as much as you want on a shopping center too. So when you look at something like this, this is great, guys. I'm glad we're discussing this, and I didn't get into cap rates and stuff before because it's not relevant to when you're leasing the space, but when you're selling them, the cap rate is going to be that base rent, total of the base rent divided by the price that you pay for it. And that's going to determine your cap rate. And this is what, when I was telling you they do the base rent and separate out the triple net, this is what they're using. This is so they can do these numbers quickly and come up with a return on it. Here's your price. That's your price per square foot. Your cap rate is this. I could do the reverse, those numbers on that, and tell you how much they're getting per year on total rents here. Okay. So that's how that works. Okay. These are 2 buildings, 32,000 square feet plus or minus. And that's where you come out with all those. All right. So anyway, you can find anything you want on here. Get on here and play around and see what's out there. And you'll really, think you'll enjoy that if you're into that kind of thing. So what's the first site you named? I named LoopNet, and then I wrote it down here earlier, crexi.com, crexi.com. Look that up as well. All right. Any other questions on that? I answered the other question by email. Malvis, you handled your second question there. That's what I was waiting for. Yes, to get to this training.
I have a question.
Yes.
If we are trying to get more familiar with commercial real estate side, other than taking that CCRM course, is there any other tips or suggestions that you or I forgot the name, but the AJ can suggest that we can do to learn more?
AJ will have a more academic way to do this, but I will tell you that the only way I believe in, and no offense to AJ, the only way I believe in to get this, to know what you're doing in commercial is to work commercial deals. That's the only way to really know what you're doing. You need to take the classes. You need to learn the rules and learn all of the stuff that they teach you in those kind of classes. But the only way you're really going to learn is to get out and do it and work deals with people. And what I always recommend is to refer a deal to someone like AJ and say, and he might not like this, and say, part of the deal of this referral is I'm going to work this deal with you. And that's one of my, I'll take X amount of the commission and I'll cut you a good deal on that, but I'm going to work this deal with you. And if you need any legwork, you need somebody to run down to City Hall, you need somebody to do this or that, I will do that for you. I will be your legs here. I just want to be included on all the communications in the meetings. Okay.
Ryan, that's an excellent question. And I'll tell you, when I got my real estate license, I realized within a few weeks that I'm not an emotional person. I'm a financial person. I have an engineering background. I like numbers, and that's why I do commercial real estate. And in order to serve your client the best way possible to make sure that they're getting into the right property, the right deal, it's very important for me as an agent, commercial agent, to understand all the ins and outs about what they need to look out for. So that's very important. That's the reason I do. Now, I'll also be honest with you about another thing. I don't do residential real estate. I don't do residential listings. So whenever I do have an opportunity, I refer that out because I do not want I don't have the expertise in that because it's a very specific. And I'll further state to you this, that commercial real estate is not just like one real estate, just like residential is. You have your starter homes, you have your move up homes, then you have your luxury homes, and then you have all the others. If you have expertise in one of them, you really cannot serve the clients in the other field. And same thing goes with commercial. You have multifamily, which is apartments. You have hospitality, which are hotels. You have industrial, which is industrial property, like Amazon, what Amazon is buying right now. You have office properties, you have retail properties, and they all require expertise in that area. So if one of you guys calls me and tells me, AJ, will you help us out with buying land for hotel properties? I said, yeah, I've done that in the past, so I can help you. But if you tell me that you need help in listing a retail complex, I'll probably tell you, I have a very good CCIM friend who does that full time. That's the only thing he does. And he will be the best person, and I will refer you to him. Matter of fact, some of the agents that have called me, and I have already actually referred them to specific CCIM agents who are who are expert in that field. So it's very important to understand that. And, I have a lot of respect for residential brokers because they work very hard. It's a totally different marketplace. And I feel that that is something that is not my expertise. So I like to refer that out. I'll stop right there.
Yeah, and I want to add to that too. You guys, I'm screen sharing. This is back in 2015 when I first did my first one here with you guys, basic training commercial real estate. The first thing I talked about is there's nothing I can teach you today other than just kind of go through the basics of each one of these things. There are within both leasing and sales, there are office, retail, industrial, residential, all that, both in leasing and sales, and each one of those is a specialty amongst itself. And like AJ just said, everybody has their niche, and you need to be. I've always recommended to people to be really good in one niche and have be an expert in one niche and have some experience in another one, so you can kind of, if one of your niches is residential development, for example, you're going to make a bunch of money once in a while. You're going to hit home runs once in a while. The rest of the time, you gotta lease some office space or retail space or something to put food on the table until you get the big money in, right? So you got to specialize, guys. And if you talk to, like AJ just said, if you talk to AJ about an industrial, you want 1 million square feet of industrial, he's going to, I shouldn't use AJ because he might be able to do that, but I would refer you to an industrial guy, okay, or lady, industrial person, specialist, and then they hopefully would refer people to me that are in my field of expertise, okay? Unless I really wanted to learn industrial, then I would refer the industrial to them and insist on working it with them, okay? So, but for you guys, if you do want to get into commercial, you need to be an expert in something. Just like I tell you about residential, you got to be an expert in something. Otherwise, there's no reason for anybody to choose you. So in commercial, there are so many niches. I wrote down some of them here. I don't even have multifamily on here, which is funny because we have a whole multifamily division, but I don't have a multifamily on here, but that's another one. There's tons of them. Those are just examples. And most of these are very, very different. Okay. So, and the rest of this, I got into everything here, and each of these, I went into each one of these retail leasing. And obviously this is very just touching the surface of what these are, but you have to know, guys, you have to know what you're doing, and everything is so specialized that you're going to have to share, and you're going to have to refer people. And that's what commercial brokerages do. Now, these big commercial brokerages, they've got industrial people, they've got retail people, they've got office people. They can help everybody as a brokerage, but individual people within that brokerage, individual agents, are going to pass their leads from one to another based on what they're doing. So if you've got somebody that represents a giant corporation and they have both office and they need distribution, then they're going to put their industrial guy and their office guy, and I'm using guy, no reason to offend anyone here. I'm using guy just as a blank term. They're going to put those people on the deal. Okay.
Is commercial more of a 9-to-5 gig comparatively to residential or not?
Yes, 9 to 5.
I'll actually say something on that. It's absolutely true. There are no weekends, Monday through Friday. The only time I've done weekends is when I have a client who's coming out of town or out of state. He's coming from New York and he wants to see something on Saturday morning. That's the only time I've shown him property in Tallahassee, apartment complex. But it's a 9 to 5, but it's also the people who are the buyers and the sellers in commercial real estate, they know what they're doing. Okay, and they'll catch you if they realize within a 10-second conversation, they will know whether you know what you're talking about or you don't know what you're talking about. So it's very important for us to do, I do my homework before I have a personal meeting with them, or even before I have even a conversation with them. I would highly recommend you to open your accounts on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, they use commercial real estate people, they use LinkedIn much more than Facebook, okay? And the reason I mentioned to you CCIM, that stands for Certified Commercial Investment Member. Only 5% of realtors in the country are CCIMs. So it's a very, very, not a tough, it's not rocket science. It's just that you have to take X number of courses. You have to have a portfolio of transactions that you have done. I think it's It used to be 10 million. I don't know what the number is now. Okay. You have to do at least 10 transactions worth at least 10 million before you can sit for the final exam. So now, but why do I tell you to do that? Even if you become a member of CCIM, what's going to happen is it's going to put you in touch with hundreds of agents in Central Florida, in state of Florida, in New York, in every state in the country has CCIMs. Dubai has CCIMs. Russia, China, they have CCIMs. So a lot of times I get referrals from people overseas who want to invest here. So my point to you is this, that yes, I will be able to help you, but guess what? If you become a member of CCIM, you will have access to the knowledge that every CCIM has, and they will be able to help you in a way that you cannot even imagine.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, AJ. Yeah, so good help.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions or comments? All right. Did you guys find this helpful today? Hopefully you did. Abby did. Abby, how's everything going there? You anything exciting going on?
It's always exciting.
Okay. Yeah. Anything you can help people with? Anything new your way? Nothing.
Still doing the same old thing. If anyone needs help with Facebook or marketing or anything, feel free to reach out.
Abby, you got a compliment that I've never received here. Abby, your hair is fantastic from Malvis.
Thank you, Malvis. Thank you.
Of course, on my screen, you're between me and Mike, so I guess there's not much to. So, all right, any other questions, comments? Very helpful, thank you, I appreciate that. All right, guys, well, thank you all. We will see you next week. If you guys need anything in the meantime, or you have any suggestions for that you'd like to discuss on here, please let me know. My email is always open. Whoa, Lizeth, totally different subject. How do we price for a lot? Oh. All right. Those of you who want to go can go. I'm going to talk to Lizeth about this. We talked about lots recently. Yeah, comparables. The house burned out can only sells a lot. Yeah, you were texting me about this yesterday. I'm gonna need you to correspond on here if you can. Yeah, typically it's about 10K to demo something. I don't have any idea how big it is or whatever, but that's always a nice round number to demo and remove something. But if you want to, what is the lot? What I'm about to ask you, we're going to go in a circular discussion here because I'm about to ask you about how much is the lot worth to see what you want to do with it. Do you have any idea what the lot is worth, Lizette? Lizette. All right, no idea. All right, well, just send me the address by email. It's a 0.26 acres per quarter acre lot, pretty common, but it depends on where it is and all that stuff. It might be, this whole thing might be a negligible thing. Yeah, in St. Cloud. I don't know how much this is worth. Hopefully the client, when their house burned down, they got some sort of, you said the house was totaled. They got some sort of insurance payoff, I hope. Anything? Let's talk about it. Lizette, contact me later and we'll talk about it. I did a recently about, I don't know, it feels like recently, it was probably 2 or 3 months ago. I did one on land valuation for lots and stuff like that. But this one's going to be, this one, we're going to have to comp out from the houses around it. Just let me know. Text me, or not text me, email me information about the house and the property and I'll look it up. All right, guys. Anybody else have anything? Nothing? All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming and we will talk next week. And nice to share Ryan on the next meeting. Why insurance payout will be important. It's not important. I just hope that it's important to them because they should have been paid for their house burning down. You get paid for the house. They let you keep. If they let you keep the lot, then they should have paid you for the building cost. And so now you go forward with, you know, everything but the cost of the lot because you still have the lot. So you get to keep the lot, but they should have paid you for what it would cost to replace the building. So if they did that, and she's just gonna have to, and she doesn't want to replace the building, then she just has to sell the lot. All right, does that make sense? All right. All right, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Message me or email me with any kind of questions. All right, guys. Bye.